I began babysitting at 13 to earn extra money to spend on horribly embarrassing things like Fall Out Boy CDs. I would almost always work for my dad's clients. He was a lawyer, and I would get referred by word of mouth. I was babysitting for this one family who had a little girl, 9, and a little boy, 7. The parents seemed okay, if a tad crotchety, giving me a full schedule to follow, and jokingly threatening to beat up any boy who might mysteriously show up after they left. Sometimes it felt cruel for them to accuse me of even knowing a boy, given at the time I looked like an overgrown baby with frizzy hair. Almost immediately, after the parents left, the little girl sang in a creepy high-pitched voice, "We're all alone now." "Righto, cue the Shining soundtrack." "I know," the little boy chimed in. "Let's play rape." Looking back now, I know the kid probably just heard the term on TV, knew it was shocking, and said it just for a reaction. I totally bought into it at the time, sputtering wide-eyed and changing the subject quickly. I wouldn't let them watch South Park on TV because their parents did not seem like the type to allow their precious 7- and 9-year-old to watch a show like that. As soon as I said no, the little girl said casually, "Oh, that's fine. We'll just go play PlayStation in the family room. Feel free to watch it out here." Nope, I knew exactly where that was headed. I said they could watch any other TV show in the living room while I made them dinner. The parents had left instructions to make them sandwiches. I could handle that. Before I had even gotten out the bread, I heard a massive crash. It seemed like the little girl had broken a glass. Tutting and pissed, but with ultimately no way to punish her, I cleaned it up while these two incredibly weird kids watched with wide eyes. I dumped the broken glass in the trash and went back to making the sandwiches. I was a vegetarian, so while the kids had chicken, I'd made a simple salad one for myself. Just as I was finishing, the little boy screamed out in what definitely sounded like pain. I ran over to the couch in the living room to check on him. "My ankle!" he howled, dramatically flopping back onto the couch. While I tried to figure out how he had hurt his ankle, the little girl slipped out of the room. I was aware of this peripherally, but I didn't really pay it any mind because I was focused on the little boy, who appeared to be pretending to be in pain. He kept saying, "I went to stand, but it hurt too much. I don't know," over and over until his eyes suddenly flicked to just behind me, where I could see the little girl standing with a perturbing smile on her face. He was miraculously healed. At this point, I was just thinking that these kids were really, really weird, craving attention a little too much, and probably needed more parental involvement. Whatever though, I was 13 at the time, and $60 was only 4 hours away. I then set out the sandwiches for the two to eat at the dining table. I went to get us some soda and returned. After pouring some soda for both of them, I realized they hadn't even touched a bite of their sandwiches. I asked them what they were waiting for. They both smiled. "For you to take a bite of yours." I was so glad I had a gut feeling to open the top part of my bread, because when I did, I saw glass. Broken glass. The same glass I'd put in the trash. I stared in horror at the two little kids staring at me with menacing twin grins. I lost it. I shouted at them, "Are you serious? At the very least, you could have really injured my mouth. What's wrong with you two?" Instead of crying, or apologizing, or pretending to be ashamed or confused, these two little brats began laughing. Not like kids, though. It was too low. It wasn't that silly, free laugh kids have. It was low and threatening. I'll never forget that noise. My immediate reaction was, these kids are too young to be laughing like that. I called my older sister, who was 17 at the time, crying about what had happened. She came and took over for me. We left the house with chills after the parents arrived. I never babysat for those two again. What I couldn't get past was the level of premeditation that went into sprinkling that broken glass into my sandwich. In the totally remorseless way they responded to me getting upset. They were unlike any kids I'd ever met before, and hopefully would never meet again. This happened last Friday while I was babysitting. For a little bit of context, I'm a 21-year-old female college student, and I've been babysitting since I was 14. I babysat at least once a month for this one family. I liked them because they paid more than my hourly rate and had a big house with great internet that I could use to do my homework. The two kids were also surprisingly well behaved and compliant. The parents had a ritual of going out around 5 p.m. and returning a little after 2 a.m. They always offered to let me sleep in the guest bedroom and stay until morning, but I usually just stayed awake and abused their satellite TV until they came back. Their house was in a nice neighborhood without a whole lot of neighbors. It was also armed with an awesome alarm system that I had the code to and could arm and disarm through my phone. I always took the kids for pizza at this one place in town that had an arcade. I did this so that they would tire themselves out and go to bed early. I was sitting at a table watching them play when a couple came over and sat down across from me. It was a long table with parents scattered here and there, so this wasn't alarming. The couple looked normal enough. Both of them were probably in their mid-30s. They talked to each other a bit, but then the guy asked me, "Aren't you the one babysitting Dr. So-and-so's kids?" The parents of these children were both doctors, and in that region that we lived in, this would be common enough information, but I still chose to answer their question with something irrelevant. "I wonder what they use to make the pizza here." They then started making weird comments. They talked about the kids' parents, and then commented on the daughter, wondering out loud if she would look as pretty as her mom. Then the woman said to me, "Do they really let you dress like that when watching their kids?" She motioned with her eyes towards my t-shirt, which was admittedly a little tight, but not revealing. I saw that as my cue to go, got the kiddos, and brought them to get their prizes so that we could bounce. After we got their prizes, we headed back to the house. Fast forward a few hours, both kids were bathed and put to sleep. It was around 9 or 9:30, and I was just catching up on homework and watching TV when I heard some movement on the porch. I didn't think much of it at first, but then the doorknob started rattling violently. I initially started moving towards it to see who it was, but then I miraculously remembered that it was late at night, I was home alone with 2 kids, and I very much wanted to live. I then turned around to grab my purse, which was where I kept my taser. As I was moving, the back door started rattling as well, and was then accompanied by some banging noises. That's when I remembered. I hadn't enabled the alarm system after returning home. I quickly turned it on before heading upstairs. I ran up and grabbed the 2 kids. I put them in their parents' room in the walk-in closet. I still hate that I scared them. After gathering them up, I gave them no context as to what was going on. I didn't want to tell them that someone was trying to break into their house, but in the process, the fear of not knowing seemed to be worse. I instructed them to stay in there and stay quiet, and to only open the door if they heard me talking to them. I then locked the door to the bedroom, which was the only door on the upstairs floor that locked. I sat behind it with my taser out and hit the panic button on my phone app. Several minutes went by, then I got a notification through my phone that the alarm system was disabled. I planned on calling 911, even though the panic button already took care of that, but I found it more beneficial to arm it back. Then it disarmed again, so I armed it again. By this time, I could hear what sounded like 2 sets of footsteps walking up the stairs. I was trying to hold it together for the sake of the children, but not too deep inside. I was scared to death. When I heard the footsteps get near the door and saw the knob twisting, I took a deep breath and pulled the trigger on my taser, just to let them know that I was armed, though it realistically wouldn't do me much good. I informed them through the door that the alarm was triggered and the police were on their way. Thankfully, I was greeted by a familiar female voice. "Hey, it's Dr. Thompson. You're safe." I opened the door and ran into their arms and started sobbing. I hadn't realized, truly, until it was over, just how scared I really was. The kids came out, reuniting with their parents. When I enabled the alarm on my phone, the parents got a notification wherever they were at. Inside the app, you have the option to view the porch cameras as well. When they got the notification that the panic button was activated, they saw through the camera that there were people on each side of the house, 1 man and 1 woman, trying to get in. Later, though, when the parents rolled up into the driveway, the people ran off. They didn't know they were there, so nobody knew anything about it. And then when the alarm kept disarming, it was the parents trying to get into the house. A police report was filed by the parents, and I gave a statement mentioning the 2 weirdos I met earlier that day, even though there was really no evidence that would directly point at them. The camera footage didn't give any positive face IDs either. I'm just getting over it now. I'm grateful that the couple I was babysitting for were close enough to make it to me so quickly. I'm currently back in my own apartment an hour away. I checked in once to see how the kids were doing, and they were holding up fine. I'm just glad they had proper protection in their home, and that this didn't end up any worse.